All right, today we're diving into one of the most powerful, truly powerful political graphic novels ever written. V for Vendetta. Now, this is a super complex story. We're talking anarchy, fascism, and the power of an idea. And it all boils down to one really uncomfortable question. What does it actually take to fight back when you're under total control? So the story just drops you right into this chillingly familiar London. Picture this, a world of absolute, total control. It's run by this fascist party called Norsefire. And when I say control, I mean it. Cameras are in every single corner. There's a strict curfew at night. And if you're different in any way, that's basically a death sentence. Fear. It's literally the air that everyone is breathing. So, in this completely suffocating world, the story asks that one big question. And the answer? Well, the answer arrives on November 5th. It's wearing a smiling Guy Fawkes mask, it speaks in these crazy elaborate verses, and it is absolutely ready to burn the whole thing to the ground. Okay, so you gotta ask, right? How did things get so bad? To really get a grip on the rebellion, we have to understand the nightmare that created it. And believe me, this wasn't something that just happened overnight. Yeah, this definitely didn't just pop up out of nowhere. The world went through this devastating, though limited, nuclear war. And in the chaos that followed, people were just terrified. They were desperate for any kind of order. And that's when Norsefire showed up. They're this fascist party, and they made a really simple, really seductive offer. Just give us your freedom, and we'll give you security. The scariest part of all, the people were so afraid they took the deal. So under Norsefire, the state isn't just a government. No, it's more like a literal body of control. You've got the eye, which is watching you through cameras everywhere. Then there's the ear, listening in on every single conversation. The finger, that's the brutal secret police that enforces the rules. The nose sniffs out any hint of dissent. And then you have the head, leading the whole show. It's just total control over every little part of your life. And the price for all this order? It was just horrific. Anyone who was even a little bit different, politically, sexually, religiously, you name it, they were rounded up, shipped off to these awful detention centers. And one of these camps, Larkhill, that's where our story really, truly begins. Because it's the place that made V who he is. All right, next up, the Anarchists' Overture. Let's talk about V's dramatic entrance onto this really bleak stage. See, he doesn't just show up, no. He makes a statement, a big one, the kind the whole city absolutely cannot ignore. So, who even is V? Well, he's a total enigma, a survivor of those horrific experiments they were doing at Larkhill. We never find out his real name, we never see his face. He's defined completely by his one mission, to tear down the fascist state. But he's not just using violence, no. His weapons are these theatrical, symbolic acts of destruction. His opening move? It's pure performance art, really. First, he saves this young woman, Evey Hammond, from the secret police. But then, and this is the crazy part, he doesn't just run and hide. Oh no. He takes her up to a rooftop, gives her a front row seat, and then he conducts the explosion of the Old Bailey, the symbol of justice. And he times it perfectly to classical music. Wow. Of course, the state media immediately goes into damage control, right? They try to spin it, calling it a planned demolition, but the people, they know what they saw. V's message just cuts right through all that propaganda like a hot knife through butter, and that message is crystal clear. The time for just sitting back and quietly accepting all this, it's over. Okay, this next part is absolutely crucial. Because V's whole philosophy, it's not just about blowing up buildings, it's about changing people. And his number one student is Evey. Okay, I've got to warn you, this is where the story gets incredibly dark. Really controversial. To teach Evey his most important lesson, V does something pretty unforgivable. He fakes her capture, and then he puts her through the exact same kind of psychological torture that he went through back at Larkhill. So there she is, in that cell, and Evey reaches her absolute breaking point. She's given a choice, rat out V and walk free, or be executed. And right there, in that moment, something inside her just clicks. She refuses to talk. She finds this core of integrity deep inside herself, and she chooses to die rather than betray it. And that's when V reveals it was all a setup. And Evey, she's horrified, obviously, but she's also completely transformed. The girl who used to be this frightened, compliant victim, gone. In her place is someone fearless, defiant, and, for the first time, truly free.
And this gets us right to the heart of V's entire ideology: freedom from fear. See, he believed the state's most powerful weapon isn't its cops or its cameras, it's the fear that it drills into its citizens. By making Evey face her own death, he freed her from that weapon, for good.
Okay, next up, Symphony of Destruction. Let's zoom out to the bigger picture now and see how all this starts to build. Because with Evey transformed, V's war against the state escalates into this full-blown philosophical battle. V's plan just unfolds like this perfectly conducted symphony of destruction. This isn't just random chaos, not at all. He is systematically taking the regime apart, piece by piece. He hunts down the officials who ran Larkill. He hijacks government broadcasts to talk right to the people. He's exposing all of the government's darkest secrets. And this conflict, this is really the central debate of the whole story. On one side, you've got Detective Finch. Now, he knows the system is corrupt, but he represents that desire for order, for security, for stability. You know, the idea that even a really flawed system is better than no system at all. And then on the other side, you have V. He represents absolute freedom, the belief that a corrupt system has to be completely destroyed, even if that means anarchy and chaos. It's this timeless dilemma, right? And the story never gives you an easy answer. And this right here leads to maybe the most haunting question in the entire book. V is a master of destruction. He's brilliant at tearing down a corrupt system, but he has no plan for what comes next. What happens the day after the revolution? He doesn't say. And that brings us to our final section. Ideas are bulletproof. This is the climax. Everything is on the line. The fate of the entire nation and V's big idea itself, it all rests in Evey's hands. So after one last big confrontation, V is mortally wounded. He manages to make it back to Evey, but he's dying. And he has his final gambit all ready to go. An underground train packed to the gills with explosives aimed straight at the Houses of Parliament. But he doesn't pull the trigger. He leaves that final monumental choice to her. So what's she gonna do, right? Will she finish V's work of destruction and just embrace his whole anarchist vision? Or will she stop the train and let the corrupt order survive? I mean, the entire future of the country is hanging on what she decides to do next. But before he dies, V explains his whole philosophy in what is easily the story's most iconic line. He, the man, he can be killed. He's just flesh and blood. But what he represents, the idea of resistance, the idea of freedom from tyranny, that can never be destroyed. And so, Evey makes her choice, and the story ends by leaving us with this powerful, really ambiguous question. Think about it. V's a murderer, he's a manipulator, he's a terrorist. But he's also a freedom fighter who gives his life to topple a fascist regime. The story doesn't tell you what to think. It just asks you to decide. So, what do you think he is?